Welcome, fans, once again to KB's Unemployed show, the only show on the internet where you can sit at your job and watch a guy who doesn't have one anymore. What will KB do today? Change guitar strings, perhaps? Grade papers? Worry about his future? Who knows? The only thing we know is it's guaranteed to make you question your intelligence, simply because you're watching it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the unemployed lifestyle of KB.
The pods are now open.
Look at my cat. Look at my cat. Look. Look.
I like to say about the world cities and airports.
KB brings just great instincts. That's what you love about him.
Oh, that boy ain't right.
If Andy yearns for Brenda and Brenda cares about Charlene, who pines for Andy, the three of them form one of these. Kara.
What is it, threesome?
No.
Taste the biscuit. Taste the goodness of the biscuit.
Lesbians. It's what makes a Subaru a Subaru.
I don't mind a bit of bush.
37 in a row? Shut the up, okay? Shut the up.
Do you want to start drinking?
Yes.
You know I'm gonna have to go for 420, Bob.
Cheez-Its! Cheez-Its! Cheez-Its!
Light this candle.
He's right. Let's light this candle.
Light the candle.
Are you ready for it?
That's why. Hey, there you are, folks. The candle is lit. KB, we are back here. It is KB's Unemployed show. I have now been officially unemployed for 42 days. So I'm on my 42 days, second day of unemployment. I update you on this every day. And I have no prospects. So there are still no prospects at all. I haven't sent out any resumes either. And that's going to cut down on the people that are going to be looking to hire you. You got to kind of, I was going to go to one of those recruiters, one of those coaches. And, I had done that before and they said, you got to put yourself out there. And I am not putting myself out there. I have no interest in putting myself out there. I'm having way too much fun just sitting here and doing this. But so it's day 42. I do have an update on something, though. I did get insurance. So that is a good thing. People that everyone who I talk to who gets older and later in their careers before they go work as a shift manager at Quick Trip, which I believe is probably the next step in my career. I've noticed that I become more finely attuned to that as I realize that I'm just, going to get my coffee in the morning and being unemployed. That, everyone there has probably been blown out of a job and ends up going to Quick Trip. Anyway, I do have insurance now. I went into the marketplace, if you will, to make sure I got insurance. But the great thing is the last time I had to go into the marketplace, I still had two other jobs. I was working 3 jobs, so I still had 2 other jobs, but I lost the job that gave me my insurance. So I go into the marketplace, and the Affordable Care Act wasn't all that affordable at all because I was still making money. But now I'm not making any money. So I went into the marketplace, and now it's very, very, very affordable. So we'll see how long that lasts. But that is a big relief once you have insurance. That when you're unemployed, it makes unemployment even that much more attractive. Because I'm going to be honest with you. I'm getting used to this lifestyle. I truly am. And we're going to have a guest coming up in a couple of minutes who is also attuned to this lifestyle because he himself has found himself unemployed. He has on many occasions throughout the course, not many occasions. I think that's kind of bad to say. I know he has before. And so we'll talk about being unemployed, what we're watching on TV, what we're doing during the day. Going to talk a little bit about the college football championship game. If you recall, yesterday I made my predictions and I said my heart lies with Indiana, but I thought Carson Beck would come up big for Miami and Miami would win that game, much to my own chagrin. And they damn near did. They damn near did at the end of the game. But I stumbled on something really interesting about the Indiana team, which I think you should, which I'll share with you. And that is the average age of their team is 23 years old, which is pretty old for a college team. So it's about 20, I think it was 23 point something, 23.4 years old. Or to some degree, the Green Bay Packers their average was only a year older. So, and the reason I looked this up is I saw an interview with John Calipari, and he was talking about the transfer portal and how messed up it is, and how you've got these kids sticking around because they make more money than they're ever going to make out of school. So they stick around for so long, and then they apply for, hardship, extra years of they apply for eligibility, extra years of eligibility. And Calipari goes, so the next thing you know is you're sitting there and you got, a bunch of 18-year-olds that are playing against 23-year-olds. And that does make a huge difference. Not like college hockey, where everyone comes in as a 22-year-old freshman because they've been fighting down in juniors for 4 or 5 years. But when you look at that age, that difference in physical development can make a big, big difference. And so I don't think anyone has really taken that into consideration when they've looked at all the angles of what's happening in this NIL and this transfer portal area. So now you're going to end up with teams that are going to have big physical differences. So anyway, but the college football championship game was a good one last night. It is right now, I believe the temperature here is 12 degrees. It started out at, 4 below zero with a sick wind chill. I haven't been outside in 3 days, and I'm okay with that. I think the weather's going to break possibly next week, and so I might come out then. But I take that back. I did go out to bring in a garbage can, but that's it. I shut her down for the day. But as I promised to all the people who are sitting there, that are out there, I did promise a guest, a dear friend of mine who I had the occasion of working with on many occasions. You guys that are coming here to watch are familiar with him. I know that you are. It is none other, all the way from Florida, from warm Florida, it is none other than the red hot Tim Scott. Red hot, what is going on, my friend?
Well, I got to tell you, KB, the highlight of my day today, outside of the weather, was I was at Dollar General with Mrs. Red Hot.
Okay.
And I happened to head down an aisle, and I saw a man wearing a Detroit Lions hoodie. I had on my Green Bay Packer pullover, as I have on now. And we locked eyes, and we both said at the same time, I kid you not, F the Bears. F the Bears. That's what we said. We said.
I thought that line was reserved the other way around for Ben Johnson, who I think has the most punchable face.
By the way, did you see sorry, you were talking about Indiana last night, and that one of the most amazing things that I've seen in my lifetime sports-wise. I mean, there's been other teams that have done things like this that have come out of nowhere, so it's not like it's never happened before. But Indiana, after the win last night, the university probably stopped Mark Cuban in the hallway as they left Hard Rock Stadium and said, Mark, we need a loan. So with Cignetti winning the championship last night, per his deal with IU, he earned a $2 million bonus, plus they now have to redo his deal.
Really?
In the deal, it said if he wins a championship, they have to renegotiate the contract, making him a top 3 average paid college football coach, which means his base salary will be somewhere around $12.5 million per year after last night.
So once again, he becomes the highest paid state employee in Indiana.
Yeah, exactly. You know what was cool last night? Did you watch the post-game show at all?
I watched a little bit of it, but
what
not
I
a
thought
lot.
was really, I have to, outside of ESPN getting flack today for showing porn star Bella Danger during the broadcast, which I thought was very interesting.
She's a big fan.
Oh, she's a huge fan.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was really cool in the postgame. They did a tip of the cap to Don Fisher, who's the longtime voice of Indiana. And, of course, he called Bobby Knight's national championships. And I'm trying to think. My mind went blank. Who was the coach that won one with Indiana after Knight? I can't remember his name off the top of my head. At least they made it to the – you know what I'm talking about, that guy? Yeah, I can't – he was there. He was one of Knight's assistants. But anyway, they showed Don Fisher's final call when they won last night, which I thought was really, really cool. Guy, it's like LePay's been there forever, and to be able to in that situation, and I'm sure if you asked Don Fisher, he never thought that they would be in the position they were last night. And but yeah, so I thought that was a cool thing that ESPN did last night on the broadcast.
And it was one of those situations where Miami was playing at the Orange Bowl, where they play all their home games, but they were the away team. They had to dress in the away locker room. They couldn't even use their own locker room. But you could tell, man, that was an Indiana crowd. That was an Indiana crowd last night.
Do you know how many people can seat in that stadium? How many people can? I don't know.
It's around 70.
Yeah, I read somewhere last night that there was 45 to 50,000 Indiana fans at that game last night, and that the lowest ticket price for the game was over $4,000.
Over 4,000. Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
that was a get-in price.
That's that doesn't surprise me. You would have been around when the Badgers went in '94 to the Rose Bowl for the first time, right?
Absolutely. Drank them out of beer, KB. That's what the Wisconsin Badger fans did that day.
Drank Pasadena out of beer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, that was, the Badgers hadn't gone since what, 1960? So
it was the with Pat Richter and they were the Hard Rocks, right? Isn't that what they called them? If I remember right.
Oh, I don't know.
They played the game and it went on forever and ever. Yeah. Anyway, it's a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. So, but people went nuts when the Badgers went in '94. So I can only imagine what it's like in Indiana. It's crazy.
I liken it when I was thinking about things for me in my lifetime that were comparable. I would say probably 96 when the Packers won the Super Bowl, because I had grown up on bad Packer football. I never thought in my lifetime that I'd see it, and I did. I think also for me was when Dick Bennett took the Badgers to the Final Four. I never thought I'd ever see a Wisconsin Badger basketball team go to the Final Four. And so that's where my head was last night as I watched that with Indiana.
And they've been to 3 of them. And in the time that Indiana hasn't even been back, and Indiana was for the longest time a blue blood in college basketball. And they probably had more students in Assembly Hall last night than they've had in years, because that was packed. They kept cutting back there. 17,000 people watching that on a.
Yeah, it was crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. But I don't watch college football I didn't watch a lot of it because of this year, because of the Badgers at all. That was just a little bit difficult to watch. And Sue is the one who handles the remote control, and she handles the games. She's the one who picks and chooses what we will watch when it comes to sports. It is entirely.
I know Miss Sue. I'm not surprised by that. I am not surprised.
So she had kind of walked away and from Wisconsin football a little bit, and So I did not watch a lot of Wisconsin football, and I did see this today, and I thought it was when we were and we didn't watch a lot of the college playoffs. She's in the same boat as I am, where she absolutely hates the way it's set up now, that it's dragged out. Here we are on the 19th of January, and we finally had the 20th actually, and we finally had the national championship game, which is absolutely ridiculous. And I was going to
maybe think about it this way, okay? And it didn't dawn on me until last night. So Indiana's journey to the national championship game was 3 playoff games, if I'm correct. One of them was at the Rose Bowl. I believe another one was either in Dallas or Phoenix, and then the championship game in Miami. Yep. If you're a Hoosier fan, how much corn did you sell? How many cattle did you sell?
Pigs.
How many ounces of plasma did you sell? Or what did you sell to afford this? To me, exactly. I think that's a greater problem from a fan standpoint. Now, I know that they've talked about playing these games. I think the first round, isn't it? They play in their home stadiums, I believe. At least that was the thought.
But they would have a bye. They got a bye.
Right. That's right.
So they don't even get the home game. I mean, they should do it the other way around, where 12-8 go on the road, and the other people get a home game. I would think they should deserve a home game to start instead of a bye. And even if they do get a bye, that should be a home game. But they put it into in the bowl games, and I don't know who X'd it or tweeted it or put it on Xter or whatever the young people are calling it. But had it that you take the season ends, you start on December 6th, and you go December 6th, the 13th, the 20th, right? Or 6th to 14th. Yeah, 6th to 13th and the 20th. That would be 7, 7, and 7, right? And then you play on New Year's Day for the national championship in one of those bowl games, because the bowl games have become so irrelevant. Now the other ones have become so irrelevant, and get it done. And I'm all in on that.
Well, as we learned from Miami quarterback Carson Beck, that classes are not an issue. As he said at the press conference, no, I'm not worried about my classes. I graduated 2 years ago. 2 years ago, he graduated from college, but somehow he stayed enrolled. What is he doing? What is he doing?
You mean to tell me that that's not going to trigger an investigation?
He's just I'm sure. Do you think he's the only one? Of course he's not the only one. He's the only one that admitted it at a press conference. That was it.
Right. And he just threw his whole university under the bus, or the second university, because he was at Georgia. And, did he win a natty at Georgia?
Well, shocking, Katie. He won 2.
He won 2 with 2 different schools.
He won 2.
At Georgia.
No, he won 2 at Georgia.
Yeah, he won 2 at Georgia, and he could have had a 3rd. That's just craziness. It's absolutely crazy. I mean,
by the way, I want. I want to make sure that we're not violating any parts of our agreements here. Are we talking too much sports?
We're talking TV. Yeah, we're probably talking too much. Anyway, it's not, but it's not a sports show. Come on.
If you know, you know.
Yeah. If you know, you know. Right. So anyway, you know what I do want. You know what I do want to do is. I do want.
It's good to see you, by the way.
I haven't seen you. Since when? It's like October.
Yeah, probably October. I'm guessing the 13th, the 12th, something like that. Yeah.
12th.
Yeah, that was the last time I saw you.
Yeah, that would have been the last time I saw you, and and then the last time I saw anyone else was December 9th. But yeah, the 13th. But so, okay, what have you been doing? I heard a rumor that you were driving wheels on meals around for a while. Not driving them, having them brought to your house, but you were taking them out, or you were driving meals.
Yeah, I was.
That's awesome.
Matter of fact, they just reached out to me again.
That's incredible. I love that. Are you frozen
I
up
have
there?
always wanted to Meals on Wheels. Always wanted to do it. And
Really?
so I contacted some folks I knew in Lake Mills. Contacted my folks at Lake Mills, and I met a nice woman. Her name is Darlene. She's delivered meals to people in that area since the 70s, and they're looking for fresh young blood. And so I've done it twice. I'm going to do it when I get back. You meet a lot of nice people, and what you realize how fortunate you are.
Well, yeah. That's the one thing. I mean, Sue does a lot with St. Ben's, the food pantry here. She hasn't gone down there as much since COVID, but she would go down there a lot. And I had gone down there and served a couple of times with her at the food pantry. And you really do start to realize that you do have it pretty lucky. And I know, we're kind of, joking about being unemployed, but you got to thank your lucky stars. You're down in Florida with your lovely bride. We got a roof over our heads. There's a lot of people out there that have an awful lot, very, very, very bad. And especially when it gets like bitter cold up here, because I didn't know this. I learned this when I was down at St. Ben's, that a lot of time the homeless people, when it gets this cold, based on the rushes to the shelters and the rushes to the food pantries or where they can get a meal, is that they don't have, if they have to pick one or the other, because the shelters will fill up, right? And with beds, and then so if they want to get a bed for the night and stay inside, they've got to go to the shelter, and they have to skip the meal. Or if they want to get the meal, they have to skip the shelter. And that's that, to me, that's just unacceptable. I mean, they've got to do something. I get very hot about that when I found that out, because there's all these schools and everything that people shut down, and that they couldn't keep open. And it's like, I don't know why you can't. There's city buildings, why you can't open those. They don't. People like that, that are out there, they don't need it to be 72 degrees. They just need it to be not 8 below. But that's
one of the things
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, one of the things that I experienced when I did the Meals on Wheels is that there's so many people that are alone. People that are in their late 70s, early 80s, wives who've lost their husbands, husbands who've lost their wives, that, were married for a long, long time. And what they really want, besides the hot meal, is that they want someone to talk to. And, it took a couple of times for me to go out there before, they put a name on the face and that type of thing. And that was one of the more rewarding things for me, was just being able to get to know them a little bit on a first name basis, and, brightening their day. And again, it wasn't as much about the meal per se. It really was about just some companionship, someone to talk to. And I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I'm going to continue to do it. I urge people that volunteer when you can. I know that in our busy lives, sometimes it's hard to do. But, ever since, we've decided to do some separate things, what I've learned is that we're all given a purpose in life, and, a role, and it's for us to figure out what that role is. And unfortunately, like you, I'm still trying to figure out what my next role is. I'm working on that, KB.
I got no idea what mine is. I did everything in the world. I did advertising, I did stand-up, I played music, I teach, and I still don't know what the hell I'm going to be when I grow up, and I'm damn near dead. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know that I'm not going to be a golf pro. Several rounds down here has taught me that's not going to happen.
So you're down in Florida now. I mean, that's the other thing, is that I'm thinking of this, my wife and I, Miss Sue and I are thinking, it's like, you get in these situations and you just go, why don't we just sell everything and go somewhere warm, where nobody knows you, like going to the Federal Witness Protection Program. Now, I know you're down there with relatives, but come on, man, you got to be loving it down there in January. You got to be loving it.
Yeah, we're down here. Well, it's fantastic. It's interesting, too, when I talk to the kids back home. We're like, yeah, it was cold today. And they're like, don't even tell us. Don't even tell us what the weather's like. There actually was snow here in the state of Florida on Sunday, KB. Mm-hmm. There was about 1 inch to 2 inches. And you talk to my wife's family who lives outside of Tampa, and they're like, boy, it's unseasonably cold right now. Highs are 51. I did golf yesterday and didn't golf well, but the temperature down here was high of yesterday was 53. And the wind gusts were very strong. By the way, before I forget, I've got to ask you.
Yeah.
Are you into tribute bands?
Am I into tribute bands? It depends on the tribute band.
Okay, in St. Pete, there is and again, I know that they played in Wisconsin before. They're called Jump. They're the ultimate Van Halen tribute band. Right? My wife and I are kicking around the idea of going to see them.
Why not?
Exactly. One of my favorite experiences with a bar band was here in Florida about 15 years ago with the ultimate AC/DC tribute band called Stiff Upper Lip.
Oh, well, you're a big AC/DC fan, man. That's what people don't necessarily know about Red Hot. Is that's your jam? Is AC/DC? Mm-hmm. And but Van Halen, if you want to have some fun,
have you seen? By the way, have you seen the ticket?
The ticket prices for what? AC/DC?
No, Van Halen tribute band ticket prices I think are $70 a head.
What?
What I was going to tell you was that
that's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know how big the venue is. Yeah, I know. So when AC/DC came through the first time in 2025, they kicked off the tour in Minneapolis, and Dawn and I and Big Jason Odom and his wife Carrie, who you know, we all went to see the show. It was amazing. At their age, they were amazing. So now, as you know, they're making the second lap, the B markets, as you've taught me, that's what it's called, right? Mm-hmm. So they're going to be in Madison in July. Mm-hmm. Have you seen the prices for tickets at Camp Randall Stadium? And do you know how far away you are from the stage?
I can't even begin to
watch the concert, KB, from the big screen.
I can't even imagine how it, probably well over $250 for as far away from the stage as possible.
Oh, at least. So 3 of my buddies from high school, we all grew up in Western Wisconsin. We're going to go. Well, 2 of them. So I'm going to ask you, what would you do? This is what would KB do?
Okay.
So the 4 of us grew up together, went to high school together. 2 of the 3 looked at the prices and they said, no effing way, I'm not going to go. Okay. I'm like the 3rd guy in the group has had some health issues. He was a huge AC/DC guy like me. And I communicate a lot through his wife. And I said, she called me about 2 weeks ago and said, hey, have you got those tickets yet? And I said, no, the other guys don't want to go because it's too expensive. And the good seats are, you want to get close, we're talking thousands of dollars. And she's like, well, this is all her husband talks about. He wants to go to this show. Mm-hmm. So I said to her, what is your max you're willing to spend on the ticket? She told me, and it's not enough to buy a ticket. So now it's a lifelong friend who desperately wants to go to the show, has had health issues. Mm-hmm. All he talks about is going to the show, according to his wife. Do I somehow cover the gap for the ticket for my friend? Now, this would have been easier for me to answer prior to October.
Unemployed.
Right now, it's a little tight. But what would you do, KB?
It depends on how good of a friend it is. I guess I would be inclined to and how big the cover is. I guess I would be inclined to do that for them. I mean, if they have health issues, you don't know how long they're going to be around. If it's that bad, certainly I hope it's not something that is not puts them in that bad of a state. But yeah, I would certainly entertain it. I can tell you one time that I found myself unemployed. The Stones were coming to town. I think my son might have been about 12 or 13, so around that age. And, the Stones have been dying for the last 25 years. You would think every one of those guys would have kicked by now instead of just Charlie Watts, right?
Right.
And it was not cheap, but at that time it was maybe 100 and something, maybe 100 and something a ticket. And so what I ended up doing was I bought the tickets anyway. I said, you know what? I'm going to take my son. He's going to see the Stones. So he, and it's only $100. We'll find another way to get it back. $200, find a way to get it back. But he's always going to have the memory of seeing the Stones, right? It's like Drew and I would always say, when in doubt, see the band. Go see the legends, because you're never going to get another chance. I mean, I'll probably weasel my way into Madison to see that AC/DC show. I've never seen them. I'm not into them like you are. It's like they're not going to pop up on my shuffle playlist all that often, although I got some stuff on there. But they're one that you've got to go see. I did see something on social with it's Angus Young that's still alive, right? Or is it Malcolm?
Yeah, Malcolm died. No, Malcolm died.
So Angus Young is still alive, and he is so old, right?
Yeah.
He's basically unrecognizable until he puts on that little schoolboy outfit and is out there on the stage. And I saw a social media video of him, and everyone's going into the stadium where they're playing, and there's just this little old guy that's walking around the outside of the stadium with a baseball hat on, and nobody knows.
Nobody knows who he is.
No one knows it's Angus Young because he looks so old.
Yeah.
And he's just like strolling around, and then he introduced himself to a couple of people. But yeah, I think that's one that I have to see, and I have to see Metallica too.
Yeah, I haven't seen them yet. They're not high on my list. I will tell you the top 3 concerts I've seen in my life. Oddly enough, I've seen them in the last 5 years.
Okay.
Number one, the AC/DC show to kick off the tour, even though they're old, was amazing. That's amazing.
Right. You saw their first night ever.
Yes, the first night. Yeah, it was amazing. A bucket list item was Red Rocks out in Colorado. And Dawn and I went out, took the RV, and it was one of those perfect nights, and we saw the Black Keys. And you've got to be into the Black Keys that we are. They were simply amazing. And then third, you're going to laugh when I tell you this.
No, maybe not.
Blake Shelton. Well, I'm not going to mention Kiss, which you and I and Dawn saw together.
We went to Kiss, yeah. But boy, if you were going to say that was one of your best.
No. I'll never forget what you said to her when Gene Simmons started spitting the blood. That was hilarious. But but it was Blake Shelton's Friends with Benefits tour or something, whatever it was called. It was at Fiserv in the last 5 years.
Okay.
And he had I think it was the first concert after COVID. He had canceled it and he came back, right? And so you didn't know, the whole thing was they were like pop-up concert in concert because you didn't know who was with him. So the concert was 3.5 hours, and about 2.5 in, Blake Shelton says something to the effect of, I was not the only one in the 90s that should be remembered for what we did. And the first person that came out was John Anderson, who did Swing In and all that stuff, right? And you don't know he's there. So he comes out and everybody is just going nuts, right? So John Anderson does probably about 7 to 10 minutes, and then he disappears. And then comes out, and again, you've got to be a country music fan.
Mhm.
But do you remember an artist named Tracy Bird?
Yeah.
Had Watermelon Crawl and some other stuff.
BYRD.
He came out. Yes. My wife and I are like, oh my God, right? So then he's done. And then out walks Martina McBride.
Wow. That chick has got pipes. Holy cats.
Well, and the best part about it was there's a couple sitting next to us. And she elbows her husband and goes, didn't we see them at the Pfister before the show having dinner? And they're like, he's like, yeah, they were sitting at the bar having dinner before she walked over to do, she came over to do the show. And he's telling him that, my wife's a singer and, didn't really go into detail who she was. And then she walks up and she's like, honey, I got to go. He's like, nice to meet you folks. We have to go to the concert.
But not, we're in the concert. We have to go to,
they
we're
didn't,
going to the concert too.
Yeah. That's what it was. Yeah. How wild is that, huh?
That's, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of the best shows that I've ever seen. And, I mean, I've seen some pretty good shows. I've seen everyone who I wanted to see, basically, who I wanted to see. I think the first time, I saw McCartney, and I take all my Springsteen shows out of it. It's like, okay, here are my greatest Springsteen shows. Here's the rest of the world. Because as you know, I've seen Springsteen way, way, way too many times. But ever since his last tour and the little number that he pulled with the dynamic pricing, I may be done with Bruce concerts. But nonetheless, seeing McCartney was wild. Because he had not, saw him at Soldier Field with the first tour that he had done in a long time since he left Wings, right? And it was just weird seeing a guy playing Beatles songs. And I have since seen him probably 3 or 4 times. I do remember seeing him at County Stadium. That's how long ago, at County Stadium. And when he does Live or Let Die, there's a whole bunch of flash bombs and everything going off. And all I could think of is, man, they got to be diving under the beds at the VA. I mean, man, those guys are, they're up there. It's like, I don't know if you want to be doing flash bombs that they can hear at the VA hospital. But that was really good. Now, the coolest thing I ever saw musically, this goes back to 1980. And my buddy Dan Ross Maneth and I, coming from Antigo, we used to go to a lot of concerts. Now, we would go to concerts at the Brown County Arena. So that was general admission, right? So,
well, they all were back in the day.
Yeah. So you would go there and we would drive over and we would get there about 9 a.m. and then just camp out, like it was a Star Wars movie opening. We just sit in front of the doors because we want to be the first ones in and rush in. Right. And for that, the shows I saw there, I saw Ozzy Osbourne with Randy Rhoads from the front row, Alice Cooper. I saw some good ones. Right. But so Dan and I, that's all we knew coming from up north. That's all we knew about concerts was GA, general admission. Had literally no experience whatsoever with getting a ticket with a seat. So we go for Billy Joel tickets. And that's when you had to send it to Stardate. You would have to send a check, and then you would get the envelope back, and it was like Christmas. You would open it, it's like, what did I get my check back? Or did I get the tickets?
Or did I get my tickets? Yeah.
So it's 1980. We get tickets to go see Billy Joel. And so Dan and I get up at about 4 a.m, because we're going to drive to Milwaukee. We're going to be right there because we don't know that you have a seat. You can show up 15 minutes before the show and you're going to have your seat, but we knew nothing better. So we're kicking around downtown Milwaukee. It was at the Mecca. And we're like, why isn't anyone here? And then we kind of figured it out. But where the Wisconsin Athletic Hall of Fame is down there on the Mecca on the east side?
Absolutely. Yep. Over so by
Yeah, that's when
Those
Radio
days.
Doctors. Yeah, Radio Doctors was on Third and Wells, so we went over there, went and got something to eat. But there was a door that was open. It was kind of cocked open a little bit, and so Dan and I are like, "Well, let's just go in, see what's going on." And we walk into the arena. We have no idea, we're just dumb. And we kind of walk up by one of the ramps, and we look out into the area, and the band is doing sound check. Billy Joel is doing sound check.
That's a different time, KB. Different time. You could never, ever do that again.
No, and Billy Joel is doing a sound check, and all he's doing with the band is playing Beatles songs.
Really?
Right? Yeah, he's doing When I'm 64, and he's doing all these other, he was doing Get Back, and all that's what they were sound checking with was Beatles songs. And years later, when I was on KLH in the morning, he called in and we got to interview. And I brought that up, and I said, I got to tell you, I saw you, and you were, you were doing Beatles songs. And he goes, wow. He goes, yeah, that's all we ever used to do. Because I'm so big into the Beatles, we would play all these Beatle covers in our sound check. And I said, well, that's like a highlight of mine. So that concert ended up being pretty good. Then we get into there was a show that we saw saw at Summerfest, and it was at the BMO Harris. There was a Jason Isbell show that was just jaw-droppingly good, but I think the Billy Joel Elton John tour, the face-to-face tour that we're playing, that was pretty good. So I've seen just about everyone who I want to see. Now I'm more into going to small clubs and seeing stuff.
I was going to ask you about halftime shows, because I know that they talked about the new halftime show. Reason I want to go there is because when you were talking about experiences, I totally forgot about this. I was at the Super Bowl covering it after the first Super Bowl after 9/11. And
that would have been the Whitney Houston one.
No,
that wasn't her singing.
Whitney Houston was after Iraq.
Oh, Desert Storm.
Yeah, Desert Storm. Yeah.
Okay.
Make a long story short, what sticks out was security. It was in the Superdome, and there was military vehicles circling the stadium, and we had to go through metal detectors. Never happened before until that day, but the halftime act was U2, and everybody has their opinion of U2, right? So U2 is doing the halftime, and I'm trying to remember what song they did. But as they were doing the song, all the victims of 9/11 were transposed through the stadium. And they were all their names, and they were like a sea. And they washed over the crowd, and they went up through this to the top of the stadium, and then out of the stadium, like into the heavens.
Oh my!
There wasn't a dry eye in that house, KB.
Wow!
It was just. It's one of those things where you say to yourself afterwards, "What the heck did I just be lucky to be part of?"
Moments.
I mean, and now you get Green Day, buddy. One of your favorites.
Well, no, I love Green Day. Well, that's what I was going to bring up, because Green Day, they just announced that Green Day is going to be doing the pre-show, and Bad Bunny is in the halftime show, which, for my money, and I get it, Bad Bunny's the #1 selling streamed artist. He's the biggest artist in the world in terms of listens and everything. I get it, right? So I just don't get it. That's not my genre of music, and that's fine.
You loved him in Happy Gilmore too, right?
I get no, not really. I didn't really love Happy Gilmore too. But so Bad Bunny is getting halftime. I remember I got into some discussion. I got into it wasn't necessarily a heated discussion, but it was a very pointed discussion with Drew off the air about Bad Bunny. And I'm like, come on, there, and he was like, well, why, well, that's the biggest thing. Bad Bunny is and it's like, yeah, but that's not really the audience. The audience is older. It's not that style of music. I thought they'd play it a little bit safer. But then when I saw Green Day, I'm like, yeah, I think and Green Day's another one. They've been around. They seem like a new band. They've been around for 30 years.
Yeah,
right?
They have. It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, one of my former lives is a on-air personality, guy that used to work in radio. I programmed alternative rock in the 90s, and they were monsters. I mean, they were a monster. What was the album Dookie? That was like a multi-platinum. I mean, they're in my Spotify rotation.
It's good. They're a really good band. And then I thought, well, they flipped. I would have liked to see Green Day at halftime. And so then I knew you were coming on. I knew we would end up talking about this. Like Bad Bunny and Beyonce, it's just not my type of music. I'm just not interested in it. And people aren't interested in country.
You want up with people. You want up with people. That's what you want.
I want the Grambling State. The halftime show at the first Super Bowl was the Grambling State and the University of Arizona marching band.
That's right.
There were some good years there. I was looking those up. There were some good years. They had Bob Hope one year, Louis Armstrong, Carol Channing. All the greats, all the stars. But so I decided, and what I always do on this show, Tim, is I do what is called my top 5 all-time worldwide, right? And so what I decided to do today on this was my top 5 all-time worldwide Super Bowl halftime shows. Counting them down from 5 to 1, and I'll see where you stand on these because so I went back and I looked at the list and I was like, oh my God, there were so many good ones. They went through a phase where it was all the old, crusty, real halftime stuff. Then they went and they had some individual artists, and then they got into this tribute to Motown, where they have all this, these mashups of these different artists coming out. And then they got back into having like a solo artist. And now it's like solo artists with guests coming in. But the ones that really stuck out in my mind, and these are my top 5. So we'll start off, and coming in at number 5 was Gaga.
Yeah, that was good.
I love that because, I really didn't, I didn't know a lot about her. I mean, most people, all they ever knew about Lady Gaga was the meat dress, right?
Yeah.
And then,
I was just gonna say, that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, that's what what most people knew about her. But I wanted to see what it was all about. And as a performer on stage, she's amazing. And as a vocalist, she's out of this world. She's crazy good. If you ever get a chance, she sang. It's one of the few times I've ever been in my car listening to the radio where I stayed in the radio and didn't get out to go to work, right? When I had to go into work. And I was in the car listening to her on Howard Stern. And it was just her playing Edge of Glory on the piano. And it was just amazing. And I know that's out there on video. So my number 5 is Lady Gaga. So then coming in at number 4, Bruno Mars and the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yes. And Flea had pants on that night.
Flea had pants on, which was that was a big plus. The networks were happy with that. But Bruno Mars is one of those guys that unless you're kind of into that genre, into that hot AC pop thing, you don't necessarily know how good he is. But there's a guy who's he's cut out of that James Brown, Prince, Michael Jackson, great entertainer, can do anything mold.
He must have paid off his gambling debts in Vegas.
Now. And I just saw...
And he's doing stadium tours now. He's in Tampa. Tickets just went on sale for him. He's doing 2 nights at Raymond James Stadium in August, I think.
Really?
August or September, yeah.
Oh, that'll be hot.
Mhm.
That'll be a sticky one. He just did a some billionaire out in Long Island, and I don't remember what the company was, but he got hired to do his company's Christmas party. But it was Bruno Mars with Slash, Duff McKagan, and I think Flea. He put this all-star band and Chad Smith.
Oh my
the
God.
Chili Peppers. And
Yeah,
so he
yeah,
put
the
this
drummer.
band
Yeah.
together. And can you imagine that going at your Christmas party and it's freaking Bruno Mars?
No.
Now we had gone to Drew and I had gone to Jim.
Not our
Kazmarek.
Christmas party, KB, that we used to have. No, that wouldn't happen.
No, well, Drew and I went to Jim Kazmarek's birthday party a few years back, and his lineup was Sheryl Crow, John Resnick, and the Fray.
Wow.
What birthday party? So that would be my number 4 because you really got to see, and it's not just Uptown Funk with him. I mean, you just got to see what a great entertainer he was. Right. So then number 3, of course, you probably thought this was going to be my number 1.
No, I know what your number 1 is.
Okay. But number 3.
And you don't even have to tell me. I know what your number 1 is.
Okay.
Because it's my number 1.
All right. We'll see. Because maybe it's my number 2.
It's your
But
number 1.
I think the 1 and 2 that I have are maybe interchangeable. But it's the Springsteen show. And that was probably in the mid 2000s, and he was really hot, coming off the he had just come off the Rising, and I think that was the Magic tour, and I recall the opening of that where they just had the silhouette of him and Clarence, and you could see his guitar, Clarence's sax, could also see Bruce's nose was pretty well it was pretty obvious, but he that was a great halftime show. And that was wedged between, that's when they were doing all this classic rock. And that was wedged between The Who and Tom Petty, were going on at that time. They had
that's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that would be number 3. Number 2 is Michael Jackson. And
right.
That, have you ever seen the documentary on that Super Bowl, and they were talking to who was the guy that did NBC Sports that ended
Ryan
up
Gumbel?
No, he was the producer, and then he did Saturday Night Live for a while. He produced Saturday Night Live. Dick Ebersol.
Oh, Dick Ebersol, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so they're talking about Michael Jackson and doing this, and they were freaking out in the control room because he pops up on stage. If you recall, he comes up from the bottom of the stage and freezes, and he just stood like this, and he didn't move. And in the control room, they're talking about how it's like, come on. And they're watching the time because they only have a certain amount of time for him to do the show before they have to break and all of these.
Yeah.
So they're going nuts in the control room. He's not moving, and and he held that for almost 2 minutes until the audience went absolutely berserk. And they said that was the thing about Michael Jackson, is he had this uncanny knack of knowing exactly what the audience needed and exactly when they needed it. And so then, of course, then I think it goes without saying what the number 1 is going to be is, yep.
Can I guess? Yeah, boom.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's Prince. I knew it was. I knew. In the Rain on top of it.
Oh, no, it didn't rain the first part. It only rained when he started playing Purple Rain.
I know, but still, it was raining. That stage was like ice.
It's like, my God, of course he did it. Of course he had it. He had it. He connected with the Lord to get it to rain at Purple Rain. But that was, and I think by far, what he did was beyond what anyone has ever done. So you can have your Bad Bunnies and your Weekends and your Kendrick Lamars and all that, but when you put Michael Jackson and Prince up there, I don't know how anyone else, how you can even come close to those guys. You just can't. And Prince is so flipping amazing. I was watching a documentary with, actually it's on, they have a channel on YouTube or on TikTok or whatever. It's The Revolution, and they're telling Prince stories. And so in little 1-minute snippets, they're telling all these Prince stories. And they did one about how they knew they were going to get fired because they were at the end of the tour and he started bringing all these guests out on stage that played different instruments and things like that. And they said they were on stage looking at each other. They're going, okay, well, we see where this is going.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've lived through that. I've seen, I've been in situations on the radio where all of a sudden somebody comes in and you're like, oh, okay. Well, good.
I have too.
Welcome. Yeah. And then the next thing you know, they're there and you're not. But that is my top 5 all time worldwide, Red Hot. Before you go, I'm just going to leave you with one more thing. I do right before the end of the show, I do another little feature that I like to refer to. I like to call. I don't have a producer, so that I like to call. What color is the sky on your planet?
Okay.
Where someone does something so incredibly stupid you cannot believe it, and you just look at him and go, God, what were you thinking, man? What color is the sky on your planet? And this one goes right. I don't know what side of Florida you are on, but this one just
I'm on the Gulf side.
Okay, and I don't have Fort Walton Beach. Is that the Gulf side? I don't know. No, I think it's the other side.
It's the Atlantic side, yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's Florida. It's on one of the sides. But this one is from
a Florida man.
Yeah. No, it wasn't a Florida man.
Oh, it wasn't.
No, because there's a very funny line in here that gave me, well, it didn't really give me a visual, but I thought of it, and I'm like, how do you even do this? The way that it's written. And this just happened a couple of days ago where officers responded to the Palms of Emerald Coast Massage Parlor, and there was a report of battery on a Department of Health employee, right? Apparently the Department of Health
didn't involve Robert Kraft, did it?
No, it did not. Okay. It was a Department of Health inspection. Conducting a routine inspection after they got their Christmas bonus money and had a little extra lying around. Well, anyway, they go in to do the routine inspection when a massage parlor employee by the name of, and this is right here in the article, Fang Wang, became upset, started yelling at the inspector, and tried to force him out of the business. Well, the officers came, and when they tried to detain Wang, and here we go. This is the line where I'm going, how do you even do this?
Okay.
And I'm reading it verbatim. Said, when the officers tried to detain Wang, he started defecating toward them in an attempt to avoid being arrested. Okay. Defecating toward them. To me, that implies pointing. That there's some directional thing happening. And
here's what I want to let everyone into a little secret. Okay.
Uh-huh.
This is usually about 2:45 back in the day with KB in my office.
Uh-huh.
This was the show run through, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Can I use this today?
I
use this today? I know. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
But Fang Wang was defecating in the direction. She directed her defecation toward the officers. And you'll just get a visual and you go, how do you do
No,
that?
I don't want a visual,
You
Kate.
can aim that. I had no idea you could aim that.
I didn't know
But
either.
anyway, Red Hot, I want to thank you for coming on. I'm glad that you're enjoying yourself down in Florida. We talked.
We're going to be back soon. We're going to be back soon.
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I kind of like the fact that you're not my boss anymore because now I don't feel pressure when we have conversations.
That's right. That's right.
I wish you were my boss again, but you're not. But nonetheless, be able to just have discussions like this, which stuff we never would have been able to talk about on the show.
Reach out to me anytime, buddy.
Yeah, and we got a lot of people that are on there. Tomorrow, Brenton Franklin's going to co-host the show with me.
Oh, really?
Dude, I'm telling you, this is like, I'm telling you, this is just like me having to do something. So I just turned on the camera and started talking, and it's kind of turned into an interview show with guests. I'm kind of getting the hang of it. I've got Matt Miller is going to be on Thursday. We're going to talk about the Oscars. Then I've got Daryl Sturmer coming up in the next couple of weeks. He's a guitar player for Genesis. Got a friend of mine who was a screenwriter. So I'm just going to bring interesting people in and just talk to them. And that's all I'm going to do.
Far more interesting than me. More interesting than me.
Man, Red Hot, you're a legend. So I want to thank you very much for coming on. And when you get back here, let's go out and have a beer.
We will. Talk to you soon, buddy.
All right. Thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, how about that, man? The Red Hot Tim Scott joining, hanging out down in Florida, he and his lovely wife, Dawn, contemplating whether or not they're going to spend $70 on a Van Halen tribute band. I don't even know if I'd spend $70 on Van Halen, even though I do like Van Halen. I guarantee you I would not spend $70 on David Lee Roth if you've seen him on social media, how bad he is. And I know I featured him a couple weeks ago on What Color is the Sky on Your Planet for actually going out and deciding he could sing again. But yeah, as I said, coming up tomorrow, Brent and Franklin, a longtime listener of the Drew and KB show, a Sunburn Bowler, he's going to be coming on. I hosted one time with Ben in the 414. So, we'll just see who wants to co-host and talk about whatever you want. If you want to be a co-host, just reach out to me at drewandkb.com and, we can put you on. I just hang out and talk for an hour. Spread the word since I know that my counterpart has moved to 5 a.m. So this time slot is open. So if you want to come out, spread the word. I'm having a bread and butter pickle. You know what? The bread and butter pickle is a great snack, too, by the way. I don't know if you know that, but low calorie. You can't eat too many dill pickle chips because they're too dill pickly. But the bread and butter pickle is a nice little snack. Anyway, but I digress. But Brenton Franklin is going to be on tomorrow. Then on, there you go, Man of the Mill. Bread and butter pickle is the go to pickles. I'm telling you. I think Armin might argue with that, but I'm with you 100%. Brenton Franklin tomorrow will be coming on. Thursday, it'll be Matt Miller, a man about film. Thursday morning, the Academy Awards come out, nominations come out. So he can tell you about it because I sure the hell won't be able to because I haven't gone out to see a movie in years. There's been nothing that has really captured my attention at all. But that'll end up this week on Wednesday and Thursday. Go back and check out a few of the old, if you haven't seen some of the old episodes, they're all up on the YouTube channel. If you want to see what Brian Butch is up to, if you go to my YouTube page and take a look, Butchie's Den, I've got a link to Butchie's Den on there. So you can go and say what Butchie is up to. He's posting some stuff. We're all buddies here and we're all going to try and help each other out through this time when we're all kind of floundering in the world of media. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. And as always, make good choices.